Welcome to Behind the Numbers, the podcast that keeps you up to date with football within the hobby. This is Offseason episode number 5, and I have Kris LeRoy of Retail Breaks on the show this week. We're going to talk about Mosaic and Prism PSA 10 rookies, some pricing. We're also going to talk about the 5 takeaways of the week with the Sam Darnold trade. I'm going to do a little buy and sell with Kris with 4 different sets of guys. And also, the main reason I'm having him on the show is his expertise around the retail market. I really want to give some perspective for us in terms of a hobby chat of what to expect and where retail is going from here. And he's a great guy to have on the show, and I think you'll really enjoy the conversation. Now, it's time for the show. Welcome to Behind the Numbers, off-season episode number 5, episode number 25 overall. Today, also really excited to have another guy that I really enjoy watching doing his breaks. Is Kris LeRoy of Retail Breaks. And I brought him on today mostly to talk about the retail game, because I think that is something that is widely talked about. We all have a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, a lot of frustrations. But you, Kris, I brought you on mainly to talk about that because I know you're heavy in it. You see a lot about it. You break a lot of it. And so we'll get to that towards the end of the show. But how are you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, man. Thank you for having me on.
Good, man. Why don't you just kind of go through just like a little bit of your hobby path and just about, retail breaks and just a little bit about you over the last few years to kind of give the listeners an idea of who you are and what you do, bud.
Cool, man. It's kind of interesting. I've always been a big vintage guy, and I got really back into modern cards because of a baseball player named Jason Hayward. And when I used to live in Atlanta, so when I would watch him play, I got so excited, just like I did back in the day when LeBron came on the scene. I always told myself, I'm like, I need to go buy a bunch of boxes and just put them away because there's just so much hype around this guy. I need to go do that. And I obviously never did, or else, I wouldn't be going to work every day. But I've always been interested in vintage. And when I started going after Hayward, I would go to Walmart and Target and pick up blasters and stuff like that. And so over the probably 5 years after Hayward came in as a rookie, I picked it up probably around 2016, around that area, where I kind of realized what they do now in the hobby. You can pulled autographs and relic cards and parallels and image variations. And, there's no mainstream source to tell people, hey, this is what the hobby is today. It's not you just pull the same card over and over again. Like, you can get a dude's autograph right out of a pack, or you can get a piece of his, glove or cleat or bat, helmet, whatever, So once I kind of found that out, I was just so intrigued. And again, I was a vintage guy. So I started looking into the modern game, and I just couldn't believe that you could walk into a Walmart or Target and pull one of these cards out of these boxes. It absolutely blew my mind. So It's like so many people, once you kind of experience after the first time, you go open something and you hit something like that, you're just hooked. You're hooked instantly. And it's like a drug in a weird way, So I could not stop from and then, the whole hype around, this is a little baseball related, but like Aaron Judge was a huge year in 2017. So that really got me back into the modern game. And it just, the whole hobby thing where I live in Ohio, I'm lucky, there's 3 to 4 LCSs within a 30-minute drive of me. So growing up, I collected cards my whole life, and I never knew that there was a distinction between hobby and retail. Growing up, I mean, that's all I did was collect cards when I was a kid. I had no idea there was hobby versions and retail versions. I thought you just bought cards at the gas station and Woolworths and, stuff like that. So I walked into an LCS, I don't know, 7-8 years ago. And then the guy explained it to me. He's like, look, the odds of what you could pull out of a hobby shop is much better. You're guaranteed stuff opposed to what you pull at retail. I'm like, and this is when prices were reasonable. This was
right.
a few years ago. So, but I wasn't about to spend $100 on a box of cards. I just couldn't do it. So the whole appeal of going to a Walmart and Target was the best. If, hey, I want to go rip some cards, I can walk into a Walmart or Target, spend $20, $40, and just you get your fix, and there you go. And my experience with hobby shops was, if you walk in there and you tell them that you're new and you don't have a lot of experience, it's literally like going to South Africa during Shark Week and throwing chum into the water, but you're the chum. They just smell it. They know, oh, we can get this guy. At least that's the experiences that I had. So I didn't feel comfortable. I kind of felt like I was being taken advantage of a little bit. So I did my due diligence. I really started to research it. I really got into it. And that's what got me on the retail path. It's like, I seen this growing up. I'm 43 years old. So in the 80s and 90s, card collecting was about rookie cards, right? There was, you had inserts and you had rookie cards. There was really nothing special about cards. So I come from a background of we're going to do base rookie cards. That's the thing. I wanted McGuire. I wanted Canseco. I wanted all these guys. You wanted base rookie cards. So that's kind of what I love. And if you're a guy like me and it's weird, the hobby has kind of shifted to that over the last couple of years because prices have gotten so out of hand that it prices so many people out to chase that big stuff that it kind of forces them to go to the retail route. And it brought a lot of people into the base rookie card realm where you could go to Walmart, buy a blaster Prism back when you could find it. If it was this year, you pull a Herbert base and you send it to PSA and you got yourself a couple $100 card for a $20 investment and back then a $30 PSA investment. So it was very intriguing to me that you could literally walk into these stores learning the whole grading aspect to it. So I kind of chose the retail path because I seen that's where the value was in my eyes. And I know retail's all the craze nowadays, but I was doing retail long before anybody wanted anything to do with it because it was readily available, it was cheap, and you got base rookie cards. So I can go spend $100 at a Walmart. And if you go spend $100 on a hobby box back then, the way they set the collation up, you're probably only going to get one of the guy that you're chasing out of a hobby box. But you can go spend $100 at Walmart or Target, buy 5 blasters, and you might get 5 of that guy, depending on the collation. You know what I mean?
Right.
So for a guy like me, it was the absolute perfect scenario where, I just want rookie cards. I don't really care about the autographs. The autographs are cool. I hit just as many parallels out of retail as most people do in hobby, so it kind of depends what you're chasing, I guess. But so when I started posting, I got in the Facebook world probably 3 or 4 years ago, and that's a whole nother thing in itself that it takes time to learn. And so I would post all my hits all the time. They're like, man, how do you have so many of this guy? It's like, man, you must have spent a ton of money. And I'm like, well, I really didn't spend a ton of money. I might have a few $100s invested, and I got 10 copies of each of the guy that you guys are chasing. It probably cost you $1,000 to get 10 of those guys, maybe even more. So I seen that a lot of people were interested in the route that I was going. There was a lot of people. I'm not sitting here like I'm some pioneer. A lot of people were doing the same thing, but you know what I mean? So there's a lot of retail exclusives nowadays, and that started a couple years ago. Well, it's been for a long time, but the popularity of retail exclusives have really exploded. And I'm lucky. I live in a area in the Midwest where we have a grocery store here that only the Midwest has, and that's Meijer. So you have Walmart, Target, and Meijer. And so Meijer on the baseball side, and I would imagine it's going to roll into all the other sports, but they do retail exclusive parallels at Meijer, Target, and Walmart, just like they do with football. So it was interesting for me because I had access to a lot of this Meijer stuff that people really wanted. So I started going live in a room, and I was doing a lot of transaction sales on Facebook on a daily basis. So I got a decent following with people, got my name out there. And I just said, hell, man, why don't I just start a room? And everyone else and their brothers trying to do hobby. And I started my room a year ago, but I was breaking a little bit before that. And even a year ago, you'd have to be delusional to think that you're going to jump into the breaking game, go get a LLC or a business license, go up to a distributor and say, hey, and this was a year ago. It's a completely different game now. But even a year ago, you would have had been delusional to say, hey, I got some money. I'm a company. I'm a breaker. Sell me some product. You know, they're going to be like, hey, fat boy, stand in line. There's about 50 other guys with a lot more money than you that are first in line.
Yeah.
But
And
again,
they're all going for the hobby.
exactly. Yeah. But anybody can go to the Walmart or Target, and it gives somebody a cheaper alternative. And look, if you're chasing base cards, you want to get into a blaster case break that's literally a third of the price. Yeah, you're not going to hit an auto. You might not hit a 101. Sometimes you might, they're loading retail these days, but you're probably going to get a lot more of the guy that you're looking for going the retail route opposed to the hobby route. Yeah. So I started the room. It's been a slow build. We got over 1,000 people now. And, there's a couple of different people that break on my page because I can't do it all the time, but it's cool, man. It's been an interesting journey for sure. For sure.
Yeah, it's fun to see. Like I enjoy watching your breaks because I do think that it's why we're seeing the things we're going to talk about when we get to the retail conversation of it being hard to find because people are figuring it out. I remember I got back into the hobby pretty hard again, like probably just over 2 years ago. I left for college, having kids, getting married, all that stuff, and came back. And that's when I started figuring things out. And that's when I was able to find 2017 NFL Prism blasters. That's how I got my Mahomes silver from a Prism blaster that cost me $25 Canadian. That's how I got my Soto and Acuna stash because I found a bunch of update blasters on clearance that nobody wanted at the time. And so retail has fueled a lot of collections and through those base cards that have those values. So I think that once people figure it out, like you said, going the hobby route, you buy a hobby box. Like right now, you think about Topps Update. I know this is a football show, but Topps Update's going for almost $1,000 for one hobby box. Yep. The blaster could have that one Acuna you're probably going to get in the hobby for what, a tenth the price, maybe a little more. So
the crazy part is talking about Topps Update. In 2018, I opened so much of that stuff, and I hit. If I had this stuff today, I'm not kidding you. I'd probably have $100,000 worth of Soto and Acuna. This is baseball, but I pulled all of that stuff out of retail, 100% of it, all of it. And they're like, "Oh my God, where are you?" I'm like, "You guys are missing it. It's all of those hits. You're not going to get a black parallel out of retail. You're not going to get an acetate, but everything else is right there at Walmart and Target. You just got to go buy it."
Right. Yeah, for sure. Well, with that, let's get to the football stuff, and I want to come back to this retail conversation at the end because that's what I wanted your expertise on the show for. I know the listeners are gonna be really interested in that. But I already updated the listeners on the wax pricing in terms of Mosaic, Prism, and Optics. I'm not gonna read those prices again because not much has changed in 6 days. But I just wanted your take, Kris. I've seen you break all these Mosaic, Prism, and Optic for football. What are your thoughts of the big three? Mosaic's first year, I think it's fared pretty strong in my opinion as a strong rookie card. But what are your thoughts on the three different products? Do you have a favorite or just anything you got for those three?
I think Mosaic is absolutely a blast to rip. I think it's the best bang for your buck. Now, Mosaic prices have jumped considerably. When Mosaic first came out, I think everyone's speculation was because it's a new product, it's going to be nowhere near Prism. It's going to be nowhere near Optic. And it was just going to be this thing down here that it was like a novelty, right? But before you know it, blasters were $75, $80. Fat packs were $50. It was climbing and climbing and climbing. I think I've opened so much Mosaic, so much Prism, so much Optic. But I could tell you, if I was going to spend my money on a football product, it would 1,000% be Mosaic because it is absolutely loaded with parallels. You have image variations in the hanger boxes. You get silvers constantly. You can pull autographs out of every SKU, retail SKU. It's all the top quarterbacks are not hard to hit. They come out very often. It's just a great value, 100% a great value. I think they look nice. The silvers are awesome. The parallels are awesome. And if you go to Prism's Prism, right? Everyone loves Prism, but on the retail side, it's hard, man. It's a tough spin. I think Panini approached it wrong. I think they kind of knew what they were going to be dealing with this year with this class on the Prism side. It's crazy because I think they did it right with Mosaic, and I think they could have put a little bit more into Prism, and just the way it sits, it's crazy expensive. But I think if they would have put a little bit more into it, it would be even crazier. But if you think about Prism as a retail product, you have mega boxes, you have fat packs, you have hanger boxes, and you have blasters, right?
Right.
So you can't pull autos, fat packs, blasters, or hanger boxes. The only place
Right.
you can get an auto is in a mega box, right? And it's going to be a pink or a green neon, right? So you can't get, you can't get autos out of those 3 SKUs. The quarterbacks are insanely hard to hit. I mean,
Right.
insanely hard to hit.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of your cello box breaks and not one like of the 3.
I mean, I can't tell you how many cello box. I can't tell you how many just $1,000 Prism mixers that I've done where we didn't hit Tua, Burrow, or Herbert. None of them.
Right.
You know what I mean? You buy a blaster, you're getting discos or lasers, which is great. You're probably getting 1 silver per blaster, but you got 0 chance at an auto. I know it's Prism. People don't really chase autos in Prism, but you're getting 1 silver per blaster. And the odds that, like, I've opened sealed cases of Prism blasters. And here's what I could tell you, anybody that can spend money on Prism retail. It is pretty consistent that you're probably going to get 1 Herbert, 1 Burrow, and 1 Tua out of a case, a sealed case of blasters. So think about that.
It's a long checklist. Yeah, it's a long checklist with 4 cards per pack. It's hard to get through that checklist.
It's hard, man. You're constantly pulling vets. You're constantly pulling vet parallels, vet silvers. It's a tough product. And on top of it all, not only do you got to spend crazy money in a really hard chance to pull the guys that you want to pull, but if you do get lucky and hit one of the top 3 quarterbacks, there's a 90% chance that it's going to be way out of center. Which is a real big problem, man.
And the same thing with optic. Optic centering is even harder with that. Yeah, with that border. I think with optic, I would say, and you probably would agree, I think optic, I've seen the quarterbacks more. It's kind of like a happy medium, I think, of the 2. But I think the thing that I keep been talking about on the show a lot is I'm really interested when this price is stabilized for PSA 10 rookies, if Mosaic and Optic are going to be really close or if Optic's going to be clearly number 2. I'm not sure. I'm really skeptical. I do think Mosaic's love was pretty strong. I think Mosaic just hit such a perfect time for football because it's right when Herbert started dominating. It's right when like Tua kind of got the nod early and Burrow was playing lights out. And then right when Burrow got hurt, Prism came out. And so you kind of saw a little bit of a trickle down, but the excitement for football was so strong when Mosaic was being ripped and people were getting it. And so I think Mosaic just had such a nice inflation from that. A good point that Mike made on the show last week. And too, Mosaic's first year. So people are really excited about Mosaic. It's the first year. It's going to have the same reception next year. I guess time will tell. But personally, I like the cards better than Optic. I think for me, if I ranked them, I think, Prism's the top value, but I think between Mosaic and Optic, I like the cards of Mosaic better for me.
Yeah. Not to mention you have the greatest parallel in retail, and that's the Genesis.
Yeah.
That's in Mosaic. Sweet. So if I had $1,000 to spend on retail football, I'm buying Mosaic all day long. Because I know in Genesis, Genesis, it's a beautiful coveted parallel, and they're not crazy hard to hit. You can hit them pretty often. Now, whether you're going to get somebody you want to hit is a whole different story. But if you look on the Prism side, right, what's your chase on the Prism side? Your chase is reds and dark blues. Those are crazy hard to hit. And then if you get lucky enough to find gravity boxes, you got the checkerboards. I think the checkerboards probably are the best parallel Prism that you have on the retail side. But
I'd agree.
You're not going to find gravity packs that haven't been searched, or that people. What I've heard, and this is a cautionary tale to anybody that wants to buy Prism football gravity packs. Okay, I was told by a lot of guys that got sealed gravity boxes, and apparently the checkerboards are the very top pack in the gravity box, the exact middle pack, and the very bottom pack. So they're in the same exact spot in that gravity box, every single box. So if you buy loose packs from somebody and somebody knows that piece of information, you're not going to get a checkerboard. So
Right.
it's not even
That's
worth
great.
even trying. So
That's
a
really
little
good.
cautionary.
Yeah, thanks for that. Good. To kind of lay that landscape I talked about in terms of comparing the Mosaic, Prism, PSA 10 rookies, just kind of looking at Mosaic and Prism now. As we know, Optic has nothing graded yet, but Justin Herbert's Mosaic base is $340. So a Mosaic base of PSA 10 of Justin Herbert is $340. And I think just through doing breaks, just kind of like with you and different people in the retail realm, I think I got 4 or 5, that are at PSA. So like, I know I didn't spend $1,500 getting those breaks, so the value is there. Like you said, the value is definitely there for Mosaic. His Prism is $1,100. I think $1,100 is probably a little high. I think it's still in that small pop range because there's still not a lot of them yet. But still, I would expect it to be close to double. I don't think it should be triple, but I think probably close to double is what I would expect with those two. Burrow $312 for his Mosaic, $666 for his Prism. That's about the line that I would expect in terms of multiplier. Tua $157, $336, again about double, and Hertz $130 and $340 for his Prism. So when I say those prices, kind of what jumps out to you, or what do you think about those prices?
I think it would be interesting to see where the dust settles on these top quarterbacks with Prism. For one, how many PSA 10s are there going to be just because of quality control issues, right? It's so hard to dime one of those cards just because they're all cut off center. Two, how hard they are to hit compared to how much they made, right? When you're making a set, and especially dumping this much out to retail where you don't have numbered parallels, that gives Panini license to make as much of it as they want, and there's no accountability. You're not dealing with numbered parallels out of retail, so they can make as much as they want. You know what I mean?
So we have to look at the pops. The pops is all we have. How many pinks are there?
Exactly right. So that would be where I would look at it. It's like I would be real curious. If I was going to dump some money, I mean, obviously Prism's the way to go because there's going to be so much fewer 10s of any three of those just because of the quality issues and how hard they are to hit. They probably made more Prism than anything else, but there's probably going to be less PSA 10 of all those three guys than any of those products, simply for the fact of how hard they were to hit and the quality control.
Right. So. Yeah, definitely. I think when it comes to those base plays too, it's really important to take a look at, like when it comes to Prism, if it's $1,100, and I don't have these color numbers, these are off the top of my head, but it's $1,100 for Herbert's base Prism. If his green or his, other retail exclusives are like $1,400, $1,500, I'm probably gonna go that direction. Just gives me a little bit. I feel a little bit better about the pop report on those. I feel a little bit better. Those are going to be lower, and I'd rather pay $200 or $300 more to get a color card. I think that's because we kind of how we battle these base productions is to stick to color as much as we can. I think that's the best strategy we can go with all day. And in terms of these values, I am surprised that Tua has fallen as fast as he has. I think that I really don't think he was 100% last year. I was really hard on him during the season. I thought his arm strength did not look good. So I do think he is getting pretty dang close to a nice buy opportunity. I think he has room to grow. And I think Burrows, he is coming down. I mean, he's almost half the price of Herbert right now. Obviously, you're betting on his health, which is, that's not easy to do to come back from that type of knee injury. But I don't think he's half the quarterback Herbert is. I think he's much better than that. And
see, that's interesting.
I was going to say, if they're going to go O-line or an elite pass catcher at 5, and he's going to get help. He's for sure going to get help in the draft. So I think Burrows, if he comes back healthy, I feel really good about his arm talent to kind of get closer to Herbert. But yeah, what were you going to say?
It's interesting. The guy I work for got a full ride to a Division I school. Okay, he coaches a very elite high school here in Columbus that's put a lot of his players into Ohio State. This guy knows football, like knows football. Now, there might be a little bias here, but I asked him an honest question one day. I go, out of Burrow, Tua, and Herbert, if you had to put money down 5 years from now, who's going to be the guy? And he goes, without doubt, it's Joe Burrow. Without doubt.
Right.
So the confidence in the way he described it to me was really, really interesting. And I see, we play the hype trains, right? It was so weird because just from a guy that was filling breaks, from my perspective, when I threw those three teams up in a break, they all three of them went at the same. People were going after all three of those teams at the same clip. Even when Burrow got hurt, they were still going after him at the same clip. And then you
Yep.
could see the Dolphins fall off. It was hard to get rid of the Dolphins, but the Bengals and the Chargers were still really easy to get rid of. And then
Yep.
after a certain period of time, after Burrow was out, Herbert kind of pulled away, and then it was hard to get rid of the Bengals and the Dolphins. So that
Yep.
hype train just followed Herbert, and that's kind of where we're at today. It's interesting though.
Right. No, it is, and I think I feel like I probably would agree with that. Like, and I'm an Oregon fan, so I'm definitely got the bias towards Herbert. But I really didn't think Herbert was going to come out this fast. He came out so much quicker. I felt like he was raw. I thought he was going to be a guy I could buy during the season if he didn't get the job, because he wasn't supposed to get the job till a punctured lung by the trainer got Tyrod Taylor out. So, he kind of fell into a great situation. He was just making throw after throw after throw. But either way, I think they're both going to be around for a long time. I think Tua and Hurts has a lot to show next year. But the thing I like about Tua as well, that team is building for the long haul. They have draft picks after draft picks. They're going to get an elite receiver in the draft probably as well. So he's going to get help as well. He's going to be in a good situation. As we saw with Sam Darnold, situation means everything because it can kind of sink you early. So I do like Tua's situation. Speaking of which, let's get the 5 takeaways. Sam Darnold was traded. He was traded to Carolina for a second, third, and a fourth round pick. The second and the fourth round picks are next year, not even this year. I think it's pretty cheap price for a 23-year-old quarterback. I do like it for Sam Darnold in terms of the hobby. I think that I like what Matt Thule can do. I think he's a good offensive mind, and I think that he's in a good situation. He has a lot of weapons there. He's got CMC, DJ Moore. They still have their 8th pick in the draft. So I think that Sam Darnold has got a really good landing spot for him to try to rebuild his career. Will he? Is he good? I think that's the question we don't know. But I think it's one of the better landing spots he could have fell into. Do you have any thoughts on Darnold to the Panthers at all in terms of, I don't know, what do you think about him?
I'm gonna leave that expertise up to you.
That's good. Yeah. So I just think, like I said, DJ Moore is one of the more underrated receivers. We talked about the show a couple of times. CMC comes back, get a good 1-2 punch. That team can definitely give him some support. And it's good to see what the Jets can do. I hope they don't ruin a Zach Wilson, but we'll see on the Jets for sure. Obviously the rumors with Watson are getting heavier and heavier by the day. Unfortunately, for a good player, it's just hard to see these type of things come through, but there's rumors now he could be out for the season in terms of just on the commissioner's exempt, letting that stuff settle because it really affects the league and they're not going to tolerate that. So definitely something to keep in mind. Like I said, we're going to dive deep into the speculation, but I just think keep that in mind if you're a person who has a lot of Watson cards. Trades galore. It's been a very big offseason for NFL trades. A lot of movement. It's all been around the quarterbacks, and a lot of it comes from largely being 5 quarterbacks projected in the top 10 in the NFL draft, which is the most we've had since they said 2001, I believe, the Tim Couch year. So we're in a position right now, and I mentioned this last couple times of the show, but I think it's a great thing to think about is we have 4 guys from last year's draft that are going to be starters, and we have 5 guys going to be starters this year, essentially, at some point. So we got 9 guys within the last 2 years. That's almost a third of the league is going to be young. And I think you're seeing kind of a big turnover in terms of the youth of the league quarterback, and that's great for the hobby. That's going to give us a lot to chase. Next year's Prism, next year's Mosaic is going to be monstrous.
How nuts do you think Lawrence and Fields is going to be compared to Burrow and Herbert?
Yeah, so I think Lawrence is going to be bigger than all of them. I think that he is a generational quarterback. He's the Peyton Manning type, Andrew Luck, the guy that comes out that's just a surefire. So I think he's just going to come out so high, probably higher than we'd imagine, that Zion type feel. The other guys, I think when it comes to it, I do think that Herbert and Burrow, they slide right behind him. But I think the depth of this year's class coming is going to be deeper. They have a lot of unknowns. Fields has a lot of unknowns. He's really talented. He's got a lot good arm talent. He kind of gives like a Cam Newton vibe in terms of his size, what he can do with his legs. But his passing efficiency, where's that progressed? I get a little worried with Ohio State guys seeing Haskins be real successful in Ohio State, but can't translate. Just trying to see that dink and Duncan if he can actually extend plays and move the ball down the field. The Lance from South Dakota State, or North Dakota State, he's really raw. Missed the whole season. It's really hard to see, but he's kind of like a physical specimen with a lot of tools. Mac Jones just dominated. He looks impressive. And Zach Wilson's everything I've seen from him is pretty eye-popping what he can do as well in terms of the arm talent. So I think that if Zach Wilson goes to the Jets, it's going to be a tough situation still. It's going to be hard for him to get a lot of momentum, but he will, be in that market. He's going to have good value. Whoever the Niners get, I'm going to be on probably for sure. I'm a big believer in Shanahan, what he can do in the offensive system. So I just think that if it's Mac Jones, or if it's Fields, or if it's Lance, I think that they'll be successful there. I think Shanahan's a really good coach. So I kind of trust the system. A lot of times it comes to quarterbacks, but that's
He
kind of
made
my
a
take on the.
dynasty out of Denver, man. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, he's got it in his blood for sure. And I just put in here, it's kind of a funny one. Nobody knows what really happened with Rodgers, the Packers, and now there's speculation about him being Jeopardy's host full time. Like, will Rodgers leave football for Jeopardy? I just had to throw it out there. It's kind of hilarious. He put out a tweet the other day just saying, "Hey," he said, "Don't worry, guys, I can do Jeopardy and play football." It's just
Oh
funny.
my God.
But either way, I mean, that does matter in terms of the hobby because he's out there more. If he does do Jeopardy and is playing football, more people know him. More people are actually going to want to collect him.
Right.
That's what happens with Peyton Manning and SNL and all those things.
Yeah,
so that does
true.
matter. We do need to pay attention to it for sure. The last thing is we talked a little bit backstage for the show. 2020 select's been hitting today. Kind of the first breaks in the last couple of days. Expensive. It's $1,500 for a hobby box about, but it's nice. It's really good. It's really nice. A lot of color. A lot of autos. I've seen the zebra today. I've seen the tie-dye today. A lot of really cool looking cards. But what are your thoughts on Select?
I don't pay too much attention. It really got my interest a few months ago when I heard that they were bringing this to retail, and it's going to be so interesting. Nobody knows. Panini hasn't really said anything. There's been absolutely no questions answered about how many of these parallels are going to transfer to retail. Are any of them gonna? Is the XRC going to be in retail? Like, what's going to be in retail? Is it going to be a whole new slate of retail exclusives between Walmart, Target, and Meijer, and God knows where else? But nobody knows at this point. It's interesting too because on the retail side, you had Prism Basketball and Select drop so close together, and there's probably people sleeping outside of Target right now to try to get Prism Basketball for Friday morning. So I think they purposely staggered these two releases to make sure that they weren't dropping Select Football on top of Prism Basketball, because it would have probably blew every city up, and there would just be flames if you looked at a map. It would have been terrible. So on the hobby side, it's everything I've seen. I haven't personally jumped in any breaks. I'm not going to be breaking that stuff because it's a whole nother tier above what we do. But what I've seen today, it's what it always is. It's awesome. Bunch of parallels. Everything looks great, but it's crazy expensive. So if we're looking at $120, $130 Prism football blasters, is Select going to overtake Prism because this is the first year they're doing Select retail, or is it going to fall where Mosaic is? I think people are going to absolutely lose their mind. I think it's going to be configured similar to Select retail baseball, where there's probably only going to be one pack in there with 10 or 15 cards. That's the way they do Select baseball retail. And
high-end retail.
Yeah, I mean, it's silly because you're spending $20 and you're getting almost nothing. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, and then just for the listeners, if you're not familiar with XRC, that's actually one of your ways you can get Lawrence early, because the XRC is the following draft class. They'll say, it's a redemption card, and it can say QB2, so the second quarterback drafted, you're going to get a card for that guy. So there is obviously a Lawrence chance and all these upcoming rookies. So that's kind of a fun chase within Select as well. It's quite interesting. So yeah, perfect. Yeah, Select, it does look good. It looks clean. I like the colors. I like the variations. Beautiful. I feel like the design of it this year has less centering flaws than the year before. I feel like Kyler's year was really off-centered. Those bubbles on the side are really difficult to them to have it nice and centered. This product seems like it looks a little bit better in my initial look for the first couple breaks. So, all right, cool. Let's just zip through these buy and sells. Let's get to the little bit bigger retail discussion. So just who would you take? I got a list of about four groups of guys here. Go with some old school guys here. Matt Stafford with his new situation with the Rams. His 2001 Topps Chrome PSA 10 rookie is going for just under $1,000 at $999. Or Matt Ryan 2008 Topps Chrome PSA 10 $215. Now, big value difference, but I know people actually believe that Stafford has a really good chance to win a championship or take the Rams to that next step. So I do think, and I'll just say my opinion, and you can go. I think Stafford's a little bit too high right now. I think it's still that hype of being on the team. I do notice, if you ever notice, it seems like the Falcons are an every other year team. So I feel like Matt Ryan is a little bit low. The Falcons kind of are terrible or they're good. They're never really in between. And I think they're coming up maybe on a good year this year with a coaching change. But who do you like there at that price point?
I'm buying low. It seems like it's hard to make money when you're buying in $1,000. So I'm going to buy in at 200. How's that?
Yeah, because I mean, even if Stafford wins the Super Bowl, how high is he going to go for one Super Bowl
Exactly.
towards the end of his career? So I'm with you too. I would take Matt Ryan there. Jalen Hurts, go the young guys. His NFL Prism PSA 10 at 340, or Kyler Murray's Prism PSA 10 at 530. So you got kind of, I think Kyler's came back up a little bit. He was in the 400s, high 300s for a bit, and he's starting to climb again. And Hurts now with the Eagles saying, you're our guy for now. We're going to be behind you. And he's kind of getting up there with Tua at about 340. But who do you like between Kyler at about 530 or Hurts at 340?
I know a lot about Kyler because I followed him on the baseball side. So I'm taking Kyler. Just the guy's crazy athletic, and I think he's going to pull ahead.
Yeah, I just think he's just a better passer. I think I just like his passing ability more. So I think that's going to take him farther. I am worried about his size, and I don't think he's going to be able to run like a crazy man for very long, but I do think his arm talent is impressive. A couple old school guys that are fun to watch. Calvin Johnson coming to the Hall of Fame this year. His 2007 Topps Chrome PSA 10 is 670, and then Randy Moss's 1998 Topps Chrome PSA 10 is 1,000. Who do you like there?
I think you got to go Randy Moss, man.
Yeah,
I love Randy Moss.
I do too.
Randy Moss is he was so dominant. How can you not love the guy?
Yeah, so I made a comment in the last show, and Mike kind of said, "Well, about Randy Moss," but when Calvin Johnson was in his prime in terms of like dominating a game, like who dominated more in their prime? Do you think, like physically?
I remember watching Randy Moss thinking it's not even fair. Like
Right.
it was literally not fair. Like I felt I could be the quarterback of a football team, and if I had Randy Moss running routes for me, I bet you I could probably win a couple games because the guy would just make the play no matter what. It didn't matter who was in his way, how high he had to jump. It didn't absolutely matter. The guy was an insane talent, man.
Yeah,
I'm Randy Moss all the way.
Yeah, his speed was unmatched. I had a story of a friend of mine that played with a guy that went to the league, Brandon Carr, super fast guy out of Boise State, and he said that he was covering Randy Moss to practice the Raiders one day, and Carr ran a 4.38. He said that he just got toasted. Like, man, Randy Moss just ran by him on a fade. He said he wasn't even close to him. He said just strided him out and it was done. I think he was the smoothest runner ever seen. I just have memories of Calvin Johnson, like being a Cowboys fan, like freaking 3rd and 19, and they just throw a 500, and Calvin Johnson over 3 guys draped on him just comes down with it because he was just a monster. So I just felt like physically dominant. I felt like you just couldn't stop him physically. Like he would just jump over you because he was so massive. Randy was he wasn't small, but he was more of a burner and just he was getting behind you no matter what. So it's an interesting conversation. I think Randy Moss is the better all-time receiver. I'm not gonna say that. I just felt like Calvin Johnson's dominator. Randy was pretty high, hence the name Megatron. But yeah, how about Saquon to his Prism PSA 10's 271? McCaffrey's 2017 Prism PSA 10 is 350. Who do you like coming off injury? Both guys basically missed the whole year last year.
I think just because of the hype that was around Saquon, the hype was there. It was demonstrated. People were going crazy about Saquon. So if he comes back and he does well, I think it's real easy to jump back on that hype train. So I'm going Saquon.
Yeah. I think that's fair. It's tough. I might like McCaffrey's situation better. I think, if Darnold pans out, I like it better. I'm just the Giants. Where's that offense going? Right. Is Daniel Jones going to be able to support him? They have the O-line to do it. They made some strides. They were competitive towards the end of the year. But yeah, I think for me, that's a tough one. I think I might go with Saquon just because I think he has a bigger upside as well. I think I'll be with you. I'll take the little bit cheaper, hoping for the upside off the injury. I think that's a good call. All right, cool. So that's good for our buy and sell. In terms of question on the retail market, so I'll just kind of throw a couple of questions at you, Chris, and then you definitely can expand as much as you can because, again, that's why I had you on the show. But I said just like you kind of already did actually the first question. You kind of walked me through the last, like where retail's gone. But do you want to kind of summarize kind of where retail's gone in terms of just easy to find, no problem, you breaking it to can't get a thing, like just kind of that progression, maybe just kind of talk about your experience over the last, few years, retail's availability.
Yeah, I think this, for guys that are just getting into this now, this will probably blow your mind. And especially if you're one of these guys that are out here hunting retail all the time. By the way, just a quick aside, I buy a lot of retail off of local guys in my area. Now, this is literally their jobs. Now, it's changed a little bit because these companies have changed their policies. But this, up until about a month ago, I'm not kidding you. This was their jobs. They do not work anywhere else. They spent Monday through Friday going from Walmart to Walmart to Meijer to Target to Target over and over and over again. And they would end up with trunks full of retail. And then they would call, instead of listing it on Marketplace, they would call me and I would say, hey, look, I can't pay market for it, but I'll buy everything you have at a fair price and you can just get it all, dump it all at one shot. So there's literally people out there that do this for a living now, which is crazy because what I'm about to tell you will probably blow your mind if you're just getting into this. So just I would say about a year and a half ago, you could walk into a Target, I would say any Target, on a Thursday night. Most Targets, the way that they structured their, let me back up a little bit if you don't know this or not, but Target, Walmart, and Meijer, they don't stock the cards themselves. All they're doing is renting shelf space. They contract with a company, Target contracts with a company called Excel Marketing. Meijer and Walmart contract with a company, MJ Holdings. So basically, MJ, Tops and Panini basically gives MJ Holding and Excel a large allocation, and those companies, MJ and Excel, then rent shelf space from Walmart, Meijer, and Target to display their product. Walmart, Target get a little bit of a cut, but in turn, Walmart and Target has nothing to do with it. All they're doing is providing shelf space. Excel Marketing, MJ Holding comes in once a week. They put the new product out. They enter it into the system. They take old stuff off to restock it, so on and so forth. So it's basically just a shelf rental space for these retailers. So a couple of years ago, you'd be able to walk into any Target on a Thursday night, and the way that Target did it was the Excel Marketing boxes would come in via UPS Tuesday or Wednesday, and the vendors would come once a week, depending on the how busy the store was, maybe once every 2 weeks. So what the employees would do, they would take these Excel boxes and they would put them in the aisles of where the cards were, and they would just sit them there on the floor. And then when the vendor came in, they would open the boxes up, put the stuff away. But as a collector, you'd be able to walk in there at any time. The Excel boxes would be sitting on the floor. You'd be able to rip them open, get the new product out, rummage through them, do whatever you wanted to. This was just a couple of years ago. Walmart was a little bit different story. They always kept their stuff in the back, but it was always stocked once a week. Everything was there. They had a huge clearance rack. All the stuff for the last couple of years, it's not like it is today. Everything wasn't bought off the shelf. So stuff would run through a cycle. They would pull it off the shelf. It would go back to their box. They would take it back to their warehouse for back stock. And then within a few months, it would come back out at Walmart on the clearance aisle. So you would see that older product on the clearance aisle at Walmart's and Meijers, not Target, but Walmart's and Meijers. So, here we are today where I watched this happen in real time, which is very interesting because, I'm a guy I would go into Walmart's and Targets all the time. I knew the schedules. I was buying shelves full of product for myself long before it was the thing to do. So I knew when these people were coming. I knew all that stuff. So it was interesting to see when it all happened right around the time COVID hit. Bowman Baseball dropped, and Bowman Baseball was a real big release. And then you started to see, man, I'm going to Target and there's no Bowman Baseball there. What's going on? Then you get lucky and find it a little bit here and a little bit there. Then every release after that, the hobby started just going on this crazy trajectory. And then it was like, man, you can't find retail anymore. Between COVID, the vendors not stocking, and these people, everyone having all this excess time, they got into the hobby. They started going to these stores and just wiping them out. It was absolutely crazy. But what you see now is, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a prediction here. Over the last year and a half, Walmart and Target has had to deal with crazy influx of people coming in, trying to figure out the vendor's schedule, trying to be the first person in line to buy it all, for one. And as you can imagine, it causes all kinds of problems. These stores are now dealing with vagrancy, right? They got all these people standing around their stores all day long because you can't go up to a Walmart or Target employee and say, hey, when's the vendor come? The vendors work on their own schedule. You know what I mean? So
I saw people camping out playing video games. Like, Like,
Dude, it's crazy. So now where this was a situation for Walmart and Target where they just rented shelf space, now they have to allocate resources to it. Now it's, hey, I have to send 2 or 3 employees over to the card aisle with a security guard to make sure no fights break out, to make sure that the product gets divvied up fairly to the people that were there first in line and the first person doesn't take it all. So now this went from a very easy transaction between Walmart, Target, MJ, and Excel. I'm going to rent you shelf space. The product sells or doesn't sell. And we don't have anything to do with it. We take our cut. You guys deal with it. No problem. Now it's, hey, we have to literally man this aisle with employees and security to make sure it happens once a week. Or they just recently changed it. But before, they were dealing with this stuff every day because nobody knew the schedules. So over the last couple of months, you've seen Walmart and Target say, okay, this isn't working. We have to do something. So what their answer was, we're going to tell you a time. You're going to come in at that time, and then we're going to pass out cards. But again, they have to allocate resources to it, right? MJ and Excel isn't coming in and bringing employees to do this.
Right.
Walmart and Target are. Okay.
It's more
So
work
now,
for Walmart. Yeah.
exactly. So now they have people standing in these card aisles at a certain time. People are spending the night before to get there. So what I see happening is you see a transition of a lot of Walmarts and Targets are doing away with sports cards completely because they don't want to deal with it. Okay. I think it's up to the store's discretion between their loss prevention and, the theft of it and all this, and the vagrancy and the fights that break out, the allocation of resources from the stores. I think it is their discretion whether they want to stock sports cards or not. So you see these posts all over Facebook and Twitter. Hey, my Walmart stopped selling cards. My Target stopped selling cards. All they sell is Pokemon. No more sports cards. Okay, this is very easy to see what's happening here. So now Target has changed their policy to say, we're only going to give you 3 items per SKU, and that's all you're able to buy. Most people were fine with that. But now that didn't work because they were still bringing their whole family in and they were still getting it all. So that was still a problem. Now they said, okay, we can't do that. You have to come here Friday at 8 a.m. and then we're going to pass out these cards. Meijer started doing it too, the same thing. Walmart is still the Wild West, but I expect that's going to change soon. But what I see happening is it's moving closer to the door. They're going, look, these cards never make it to the shelf. So we're paying for Walmart is giving, and Target are giving them the shelf space, which is a huge commodity because they sell products, right? Doesn't matter the product, it's still shelf space. And it's a pretty sought after shelf space because it's right by the registers, right when you walk in the door. So what is the point of Walmart and Target renting out shelf space if there's never anything on the shelf? It's just an empty shelf 7 days a week. And they got to deal with all these people coming in, camping out over the stores. So it doesn't take a genius to see what's happening here. I think it's moving to, they're going to wash their hands with it. Panini or Excel and MJ probably are contractually obligated with Topps and Panini to get a certain amount of product. Ultimately, it's up to them how they distribute that product, how they sell it. But you could sell cards anywhere now. It doesn't have to be at a Walmart, Target, or a Meijer. They could throw them up online and they're going to sell themselves. But then that creates a whole nother problem because you have all these cook groups. Talk to somebody and ask them when's the last time they were able to buy a blaster box off of Target or Walmart.
Yeah.
These cook groups like KSR and the box, right? They brag about Prism basketball dropping yesterday. Their members basically got the entire inventory of Target's Prism basketball. You don't stand a chance. Don't even try. If you don't have a $10,000 bot, don't even try. So what this is doing to us, or the people that are listening to this, the collector, the people that have ruined this for you, they're going to take it out of the stores because the stores can't and don't want to manage it. It doesn't make sense for them financially. Then what that's going to do is force the companies that have this massive commodity being retail allocation via MJ and Excel, they're going to say, well, we're just going to go direct to consumer, throw it up on our website, and we can sell it. But then when they do that, that gives this companies like KSR free reign to completely own the retail game. So it's going to get real sketchy real quick. Why should I tell you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, then that's obviously the progression, because, MJ Holdings and stuff, they don't really have stores or any place that it'd be hard for them just to open up somewhere physically and sell. So, I mean, yeah, like that. And if it does go online, we are outmatched. We know that. It's going to be hard for that. Yeah. Do you think at one of the three between Walmart, like it seems like Walmart's kind of like staying true. Do you think that Walmart is just going to try to just weather it, or do you think that they're just going to end up wash their hands of it as well?
Here's what I can tell you. If you have retail allocation via a distributor, you're probably paying $11 to $12 a blaster for the Prisms of the world. Some of the cheaper products, it might be $8 or $9 a blaster. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's what MJ and Excel in that range is probably getting it for. So they're getting it. Let's make it a round number, make it $10. Okay. They're taking that product, going to Walmart and Target, paying to rent their shelf space and giving them a cut. They're selling it for $19.99. So they have $9 in margin, or basically $10 in margin for each blaster that's sold. So I don't know. Let's say they're giving Walmart $2, $3 per blaster, and then renting shelf space on top of it. So if you're a major retailer does billions of dollars in annual sales, why on earth would you want to do something where you're making $4 or $5 a box that is gone instantly? It's sold. It's very little money in the grand scheme of things. And now you have to take your employees and your security guards to help make that 2 or 3. It was a different story when they just put it on the shelf. People came and it was self-serving, but now they have to allocate resources to it, right? So I think regardless if it's Walmart, Meijer, or Target, it's not going to make sense for them to do it very, very, very soon. And it's interesting because I heard the guy DJ from Panini, right? He's probably the only guy that's really spoke out about this from the manufacturers. And I forget which podcast he was on, but it was an interesting one. He actually talked about it a little bit, and he basically said, look, we're aware of the problem. We're trying to do things to fix it, but they haven't done anything. Panini hasn't done anything. Topps hasn't done anything. It's really not up to the manufacturers, because once they sell that product to MJ and Excel, it's their problem, right?
They've sold
it. They might be able to dangle a carrot a little bit and dictate, hey, look, we're handing you. And here's the other crazy part, right? Imagine if you were sitting on the board of directors of Topps and/or Panini, and you're brand new to this, and you just walk in and you go, okay, explain to me what we're doing on the retail side. And I'm the guy that's been working here for 10 years, and I'm going to explain it to you. This is what we do. We make these boxes of cards. We sell them to a distributor for $9 a box, right? It probably cost us, we might have $2 in it. Then they put it on a store. They put it in Walmart and Target. They sell it for $19.99. And then the people that come in and buy it for $19.99 sell it for $120, $130 a box.
We're missing the margin. Yeah, that's why we're not putting prices on the boxes anymore.
They're going to be like, what? Yeah. What? We're selling it for how much? And they're selling it for how much? What are you talking about? So what I see, what I think is going to happen real soon is Panini, if it continues on this trajectory, why would Panini and Topps need MJ and Excel anymore if the end result is going to be blasters for selling at $120, $130? Panini and Topps could very easily go direct to consumer, split the difference, 10x their margins, and it sells itself. You know what I mean? I think the retail, the bottom line is what I'm getting at is the retail game for all of you guys that are able to walk into a Walmart right now and buy the shelf of Prism basketball and select football. Enjoy it now, because I promise you changes are coming. Whether it's those changes are pulling it out of the store, Topps and Panini is not going to sit back and allow you to make $100 a blaster while they're making $8 a blaster. It's not going to continue to happen like that. So just get ready for it is all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, And let's go down that road. Let's just say that Panini and Topps don't go MJ Holden's anymore. The retail, essentially, they sell their own retail the way they want to. However, so will that kill the retail value that we've been having for so long? Do you think that makes us push us more towards hobby if something like that happens?
No. What drives the retail crate, and people, I get in arguments all the time. I love doing this. Is you always see this on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you see this all the time. You see a guy post 10 blasters of whatever at quote unquote market price, and then the onslaught happens. Flippers are ruining the hobby. You guys
Every
are
time.
scumbags. Flippers.
Yeah, except for it goes sold 5. Flippers suck. Sold 10. Flippers.
Right. Exactly. PM coming.
Yeah.
Right? So then I interject when I'm in the mood. I go, did you ever think about why this person is able to sell a Prism basketball blaster at $250? Did you ever think about why? The reason is, let me explain to you, is that because a hobby box costs $2,000.
Right.
And oh, by the way, the person that's getting allocated product is not paying anywhere near $2,000, right? So they're probably paying $100 or $70 a box, and they're selling it quote unquote market price to you at $2,000 a box. So the normal rational person goes, well, I don't want to pay $2,000 a box. I know Walmart and Target has them for $19.99. Let me go to Walmart and Target. Walmart and Target doesn't have them because I have a job and I can't sit there all day. Well, what are my options? $200 or $2,000, right?
Yeah.
It's directly correlated. If the hobby prices keep going up the way that they're going up, and as long as people are buying them and as long as people are buying into breaks, they're not going to go down. They're going to continue to go up. Breakers, LCSs, the blowouts of the world, the Panini top, everyone's going to keep pushing the limit and find the breaking point, right? They're going to find the breaking point. So as long as the prices stay where they're at, the retail prices are going to stay where they're at because nobody wants to pay $2,000 for a hobby box. Yep. It is a direct correlation. How much hobby costs versus how much retail costs, right? When hobby boxes of Prism were $150, there was 19.99 blasters on the shelf because who cares? I'll go spend a couple $100 and try to hit a whoever auto. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a direct correlation. And I think the prices of retail are going to probably go up even more. I think they're going to continue to rise the harder it becomes to get. And something has to happen. I don't know if the manufacturers are going to change their prices. I don't know if they're going to go direct to consumer. But something's coming because the manufacturers are leaving way too much money on the table.
Yep. Well, and I think with these prices, over and over, we talked about the hobbies pricing people out. And so a lot of people are starting just to go more singles buying. And that's what we try to offer the show here, more football guys to focus on and attack some values. But I think the other thing I was going to say is as these prices keep rising, it almost forces the hobby to go to breaks because there's no way we can afford that box. Basketball guy, but I've got in a break with my buddy doing up here, I got the Warriors. I was $120. I got the Warriors for one hobby box. You know what I mean? Like it was a little auction thing. I was just participating, but the point is that you're paying almost $100 just to get the team you want for a box that used to be $120. That's just how far it's come. So you just have to really pick and choose your battles. And I think that breaking is going to be kind of the only way for people at this point if it keeps getting higher and higher.
Here, breaking is absolutely the only economical way to go. It's very efficient, and for somebody that's trying to build sets, to chase hits, it's the only way to go. You're going to lose 99 out of 100 times if you buy a hobby box and you're trying to chase wax. You're just going to lose it. The odds are stacked against you. But what I would wish, if in a perfect world, I would wish Topps and Panini would pick one of their flagship products. And I know I'm living in fantasy land, but just indulge me for a second. Imagine if, let's say in the football side, it was, I don't know, Donruss. Okay. Imagine on the baseball side, it was Top Series 1, Series 2, and Update. And the manufacturer said, look, the only way that we're going to continue to grow this as an industry is there has to be affordable lanes. And I'm not talking about score. Nobody wants that shit or stuff. I'm not talking about big league. I'm not talking that's product that nobody wants. Okay.
Yeah.
You can price it however you want to price it. Nobody's going to want it. So why not take one of these products in each major sport and say, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to continue to give you the allocation of this product, but for a certain period of time, the MSRP is this, and you can't go above that.
Right.
This box should be $100 hobby box for the first 6 months after release. You can charge whatever you want on everything else, but this product, people are still going to want. It gives them an affordable way to enjoy this hobby. And I think that would save a lot of the people that are going to be exiting, because there will be a mass exodus. It's going to happen. Right. You can only get crushed for so long before you just say, all right, I'm done.
Yeah. And that the numbers of the hobby is what's driving it. We all know that. Every group's got, your group's growing. There's a bajillion groups. There's so many groups, and they're constantly people coming in constantly. And like you said, if there's a mass exodus, a couple of those groups are going to fall. A couple of those, LCSs are going to struggle again. Like, we're going to get back to that point where nobody's buying the cards now. Like, I mean, that's a long time down the road, because I think the hobby is just so strong right now. But like you said, if the prices keep going, at some point, people are going to find a different dance. That's just the way it is.
Absolutely, man.
But perfect. Yeah. Well, thanks for indulging us on that retail take. I think that was a really good perspective of how all that stuff works. I think that I'm with you. It's going to change. You know it better than I do. And just seeing even just in Canada, I think it's not as cutthroat, you could say, as the US in terms of like the retail game. I was able to find Series 1 a little bit for baseball. I didn't see any Optic. I didn't see any Prism up here. It was all on the shelves on Marketplace being sold for 4X. But the point is that the problems in the US and the problems in Canada, they're all the same in terms of retail. That same battle is happening everywhere. But all in all, it's going to be interesting to see which way they go, because they do go online. Where is it going to be a chance? I think that's the worst case scenario for all of us.
Absolutely.
So, well, perfect. Well, thanks for being on
out at Target, man.
Oh man, I'm never doing that. Yeah, never. I feel bad if I go twice a week just to check. And my wife's like, "What are you doing?"
I don't even check
nothing. Don't we need something? A couple of just questions just to close this out. Just kind of fun questions off topic. In Ohio, what's your go-to food spot? What's Leroy's place to go for food?
Oh, Swenson's Burgers, man.
Okay, there you go.
If you're ever in Central Ohio or around the Akron area, Swenson's Drive-In. It's an old school drive-in where you don't get out of your car. You just go up, you turn your lights on, they come out to you.
Nice.
The bomb, man. Absolute bomb.
I like it. What's your go-to adult beverage?
I don't drink, but when I do drink, I only drink one time a year, really, and that's the winter time. I like Sam Adams Winter Lager.
There you go. Good. What's your favorite sport to watch and follow? I'm gonna guess baseball, but what's your
baseball? Yeah,
definitely baseball. One thing from the hobby right now that you could eliminate, what would it be? Just one thing that you just don't like. If you cut that out, you'd be great. You'd be gravy. You'd be happy.
I would say bots.
Yeah. I think that was my answer last week as well. I said as a breaker, bots. As a breaker, what's your least favorite part about it besides sorting? Because I know you hire your daughter to do that, but what's your least favorite thing about breaking?
My answer is probably a little bit different than a lot of the bigger breakers that you might speak to. But for me, because I'm relatively small, the worst part about it is guessing what people are going to want and investing that money. So I don't have a distributor account, so I'm not beholden to buying everything just to get the good stuff. So that's one perk to being a small little indie guy like me. I can pick and choose what I want to buy. I don't make as much money as those guys that have allocation, but so I have to be real careful about the money that I invest in. Make sure, hopefully, the people are going to want it, and if they don't want it, that hopefully it continues to go up in value and it doesn't go down and I lose my ass.
Right. That's fair.
So,
That is tough, especially when you're picking and choosing. You want to make sure it fills and that you can break it. Absolutely.
exactly.
Perfect. Well, again, thanks for being on the show. You want to plug your room or
Sure,
anything about you?
man.
People
Absolutely.
can find you. And again, appreciate you being on.
Oh man, awesome. Yeah, my name's Kris LeRoy. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter. And our break room is called Retail Breaks. It's on Facebook. We have an Instagram, and I'm on YouTube as well. Retail Breaks, all one word.
Yep.
We're a little R-rated program. I kind of got a filthy mouth, so if you got any kids around, you might not want to have me on the live around kids. That's all I got to say.
And Chris with a K when you're looking for him. So,
Yeah,
but
I
anyway, hey,
appreciate it, Tyson. Thank you, man.
thanks for being on, bud.
All right, brother. Peace.
Peace.